But just so you know, all the Centercourt guys, we have Greg Smith, who runs our Lawrence
Hey, Greg.
facility. Mike Kuzma, he runs the Mount Olive, and then Joe and Braden, they both run the Chatham location. So guys, if this is Noah and Ian, I'm sure you may have met in passing once. I know Ian, you came to Chatham.
That's right.
But I guess to start it all off, Noah and Ian, thank you so much for doing this. I think it's going to be extremely informative for all the kids and even us, just to kind of see where you guys started and if there's any way that we can integrate that into our movement forward. But for anybody who is watching right now, throughout the entire webinar, if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat, and then at the end, we will do our best to address all the questions. So feel free to type away, and we'll see how many questions that we can get answered for you. So to start it off, pretty general. Both for Noah and Ian, how did you guys first get involved in Ninja?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Noah.
Go ahead.
Off. Yeah, get it.
Well, I mean, for me, I was living in Tahoe, and my friend Brian Arnold, he was watching Ninja Warrior on, it was G4 back in the day, and we were all in Yosemite, and he was like, I know we can do this, we're rock climbers. And he's like, I think this would be easy. We should go do it. And so I was like, yeah, that would be fun. But he actually went and did it, and he filled out an application, and back in the day, it was pretty easy to get on. And then the next year he was like, look, you absolutely have to do this. It's incredible. And he did really well his first year. I think as climbers way back then, we had a lot more advantage because of our grip strength, before people really knew how to train. And so I was doing emergency medicine in Tahoe. And the next year, he twisted my arm, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And so I submitted a video, half jokingly, not thinking I would even get on, but I got on. And then that first season, Alan Keneally dislocated his shoulder. And so I ran across the lines, and we were waiting in the middle of LA to have the ambulance come. He would have had to go to, an emergency department in LA. And here I am from Tahoe, where we're dealing with ski injuries all the time. So I'm really good at, reducing dislocated shoulders. So I just ran up to him and said, hey, do you want me to put your shoulder back in? He's, yes, please, because he was really suffering. So I put it back in, and after that, I was known as the Ninja Doc, and been having a good time ever since, especially with this guy right here, Ian Dory.
Awesome.
Yeah, actually, Brian Arnold is the reason I got into Ninja as well. I was the head coach at the Spot climbing gym in Boulder, Colorado, and I had a competition climbing team that I was running, training for some of the American bouldering competitions. And the kids one day were all geeked out. They couldn't believe that this person was here, and hear them whispering. And so I was talking with them, and it was Brian Arnold, and I had known Brian Arnold, so and they were just in ooh and ah about Ninja, and so I talked to him about it, and he was raving about it and got me all excited. And we did one training session together, and I was able to get the warp wall of first try. It was a big wall, and he was impressed, and that kind of sparked the love for it, and I applied to Ninja Warrior that year, and actually I didn't get on. They called me and told me I wasn't going to get on. And so I booked a trip to Mexico. I was going to go hang out with my wife on the beach. It was going to be awesome.
Right.
And this article was posted it was one of the magazines, Denver Post, and they had all these high-level athletes, Olympians, that were going to be competing in Denver for American Ninja Warrior. And on the list was my name, Ian Dory, because I had been on the USA climbing team, and I'd gone around Europe and toured and done that stuff. And so I called them. I was like, hey, you guys, is that a mistake? And they're like, oh, we're not affiliated with them. Must be a mistake. Blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. About a half hour later, they called me and gave me a spot. So wherever you were at Denver Post, thank you.
Oh.
You hooked me up. It's
I
kind of an
remember
interesting
that.
story.
I remember Brian telling me, like, you won't believe this guy. He's going to, like, dominate. He's going to crush. And you know, I had known Ian a little bit, but then we all started training together. You know, the rest was kind of history. And Wolfpack was born out of kind of those early days of the 4 or 5 of us climbers who got together and just really wanted to beat the course.
Yeah, just really needing that group to push yourself, to have enough skill, enough endurance, and mental strength to do something so difficult. You know, it was the impossible course until, of course, Isaac and Jeff did it. But, you know, training up to that and the hours you have to put in and the suffering you have to go through to create that endurance and create that mental strength, you know, the Wolfpack really grew organically because we gravitated to each other because we had this similar goal to conquer the impossible course. And it made sense for us to all come together and train just like we had in climbing. So it's very natural and easy fit to not train for the project, but a slightly different project.
Yeah.
Cool. And what season was that you guys competed?
Season 5 was the first year. Yep.
Yeah. Where you might have been were you season 6 or?
It might have been season 6. Nah, I have to look.
Well, 'cause I competed for 1 year before you, and I'm not sure if I think I started season 5.
You're
but
right.
I might have started season 4.
You're right. I came in on season 6. Yeah, you guys had already.
We had 1 year under our belt.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess when you guys first started, kind of how did you do that first year and then moving forward on the show?
Yeah, well, for me, the first year was a total eye-opener because I was climbing all the time, and, you know, I just thought climbing and being a strong climber would be enough. And so my first season was actually in LA because I was living in Tahoe. And so I went down to Venice Beach. And the first night, you know, and I had never done the warped wall. I had never done anything ninja. So it was just like total on-site. I was just figuring it out. And the first night they had these nunchucks that you had to jump between, and it was killing everybody. And I was actually pretty nervous about them. But I was thinking, you know, okay, well, I should have the grip strength as a climber. And so I was able to get them. And I think only like 5 of us did those nunchucks the first night. And actually, because of that, they dumbed it down the second night, and they changed it into like a bar that we could all do a lot easier, which I was bummed about because I thought it was pretty cool that only, you know, a few of us could do the nunchucks. But so the next night I was all super confident that, you know, I was one of only 5 guys who had finished the warp wall and hit the buzzer for the qualifiers. And so I was like, okay, finals is going to be easy. No problem. I couldn't sleep at all that day. I slept in my buddy's like van. Like it was a nightmare. I didn't eat at all. And then all of a sudden it's like 5 a.m. or something, and it's time for me to go on city finals. And it was my first real understanding of how all the elements line up in ninja. I sprinted through the course. I wanted to win it. You know, like I instantly thought, like, because I had done well the night before, I thought that I could just turn it on and just crush it. And so, like total hubris, I got to the salmon ladder, and I just sprinted to it, and I got so pumped. And I got to the last rung, and I was like, oh my God, I'm actually, you know, and this was before we knew about the switch grip, and, you know, so like the bar's rolling, and I'm like, and I go, and then it goes crooked. And then I go and I reach out to the next obstacle, and all the ninjas are yelling at me. They're like, no, you got to go like up to the final one. Like you have to have both on the final one. And I was like, what? And they're like, you have to go back, you know? And so I went back and I tried to adjust it, and I just fell. And so that was like a total rude awakening. Cause you know, here I thought like my climbing strength would really help me, and I didn't have to know anything about ninja. And of course it's a whole different sport, and man, was I wrong. And so that, you know, I still made it to Vegas that year, And then in Vegas, I did pretty well because then I had a couple months to train and I took it more seriously. And so I made it to, towards the middle of stage 2 in Vegas. And I can't remember. I think that might be the year. Was that the year Brian got the furthest, or maybe it was the next year? I don't remember, but it was still really, really hard back in those days, and very few ninjas were trained for ninja. There were a lot of parkour athletes, climbers, and there were no ninja gyms, so there were no warp walls. Like, there was nowhere to practice a warp wall, so either you could do that skill or you couldn't. And then a lot of it was the endurance and having the power endurance and the technique. A lot of that stuff was learned. But so that was my first experience the first year. And then after that, I did a lot better after I could train, but and finally ended up getting a patch for city finals, finishing that. But Ian can tell you he's got like 15 patches or something.
Yeah, the first year was definitely it was awesome for me. That was the year Noah got his patch. We were all together. I think Brian, myself, and Noah all got a patch, and Isaac. So it was Isaac on top, and then myself, and then Noah. Or we were all Wolfpack on the podium. So that was really cool and fun, and
John Stewart,
really difficult. Oh yeah, and John finished as well. That was awesome. Respect. And it was definitely humbling because I was smoked at the top of that tower. Like, when I climbed up there, I was exhausted like I hadn't been in a long time. So definitely humbling and totally different than climbing, and bring the ego down a little bit. And there's a lot more to ninja than just having some good finger strength and relying on your endurance.
Awesome. Yeah.
And from there, I've been able to finish most of the courses from the city qualifier, city finals, not all of them, and made it to stage 3 once. But man, ninjas, it's so difficult, and you only get one shot once a year, and everything kind of has to line up, and it's tough. It's definitely spanked me quite a few times, and it's a lot of fun and very, very challenging mentally and physically. And I like being in those places where you're really testing how you perform under pressure when it's game time. It's go time now. You can win or not. So I really love being in those environments and participating, especially with the way the ninja community is, with supporting each other and having the Wolfpack and all the other ninjas around cheering you on. It's a really good energy, and I enjoy that.
Sure.
So how many seasons have you both competed on?
Well, if you count Team Ninja Warrior, I don't know if you do or not, but 3 seasons of team and then 4 of American Ninja Warrior. So for me, 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Nice.
8. So
very cool. And since you guys have competed so many times, like how do you guys train for the show, and how has it kind of changed over time?
My answer will be real easy because I actually retired a couple years ago. I'm 45 years old now, and I love ninja, but more than anything, I love rock climbing. So right now, ninja and the community and turning this into a real sport and getting people active and healthy, that's what I love, and that's my new obstacle. But my training now is all for the mountains and rock climbing and doing new climbs. That being said, I can tell you that when I was involved, these guys, everybody's a professional athlete. They're not paid like professional athletes, and they're not treated like professional athletes, but they are professional athletes. And when we were training, for me at the height of my training, I was training 30 hours a week. And that's on top of, a job and working in the emergency department and then trying to, of course, put together the Wolfpack with Ian and everybody. And so 30 hours a week, and we were pretty highly regimented, and we would do courses, and there would be rest, stretching days and lower body power days and lifting and sprinting and rope days. And we actually put together a Wolfpack Ninja training manual that details exactly how we did it. And we did one Wolfpack Ninja Junior training manual. And those are actually ebooks that we still sell on our site for a couple bucks or whatever, just to support the site. But it goes through what we did and the training that we did when we were like super, super hardcore. So, again, I'm not training anymore for Ninja. I'm training for climbing, which is totally different. And then a lot of the more experienced ninjas, like Dan Yeager, who's one of the Wolfpack. Dan's incredible. He won, he got first place in city finals last year for our region. And the only thing he did last year was basically rock climb. And he had 4 sessions of Ninja. And he was training super hard for climbing, but he already had those years of technique under his belt for Ninja. And so he just developed his upper body strength and really trained. So it changes, and every year you experiment with different things. It seems like sometimes when you're more relaxed and you take it a little less seriously, you can even do better, because so much of it is a mental game, and you can do like 10 one-arm pull-ups in a row, but if you don't, have the mental strength, and if you're not relaxed, then, it's like a squirrel jumping from one tree to another tree. The squirrel doesn't even think about it. It just does this crazy ninja move from limb to limb, right? And you're like, whoa. And the squirrel is just like, I'm just, walking. This is like what I do every day. So if you can make Ninja like that, when you've got lights, camera, action, and it's 3 a.m. in the morning and you're not super nervous, that's when you're going to do best. And so there's a big mental component to it as well. And I think people are incorporating a lot more mental training. But Ian, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, how you train, I think, is very individual based and very tailored to where you are as an athlete and what you're trying to accomplish. And for me, having so much background in climbing and being on the show quite a bit and knowing what to expect when you're up there, I haven't had to year-round be specializing in just ninja activities. I've been able to enjoy rock climbing and all the fun with that, which is great ninja training. So if I was going to give advice to somebody who's training for American Ninja Warrior, you really need to take a look at your skill set and try to build upon the things that you haven't had experience with, get exposure to it. For me, when I'm in ninja mode, I incorporate a lot of lower body coordination, footwork, jumping, things like that. Things that climbing you don't necessarily do as much, but you need the eye to foot coordination and know exactly your foot's going to be, and having that balance in order to get through some of the other obstacles that aren't just, hang on your fingers forever, because I can hang on my fingers for a long time. So it's very individually based, but being well-rounded and being exposed to as many of the elements prior to being involved in the competition, I think is a great way to set yourself up for success. And if you don't, you go try an onside like Noah. That's also an interesting, different way of thinking, where you're just seeing what you can do. I mean, and that's fine too. I mean, everyone's got their way, and you need to find your strengths and weaknesses and balance those out the best you can.
Can I ask a question quick? Anthony, Greg, whatever, whoever's up next. So without, like, I know obviously you have the book on the website, but without going into too much deep detail, because I know you want people to buy it and take a look at it. Can you elaborate on like some of the types of training that you do? Like, I know for me, I run some circuits, I'll run courses and things like that. So like, I guess can you go into a little more detail on stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. And honestly, we'd be happy to give the book away. We give a lot of what we do to charity anyways. So, but no, it's a good point. I mean, just if you wanted like an exhaustive resource, but happy to share anything. I'd say like when we were most effective, we took our base skill, which, like Ian said, we were all climbers, and that's how kind of Wolfpack came together. And so we focused a lot on our weaknesses. So we would set up courses, and courses, around the house. Ian eventually built a course, and a warrior course at his house. I had one at my house and in my basement. You know, and they showed these on TV, and they showed us train, you know, through the years. But what we would do is we would set up courses, and we would compete against each other and just heckle each other. And so, you know, I think that we would set up courses that were so hard that we weren't even finishing them all the time. But like if you dabbed a foot on the ground or whatever, you would hop right back on, and you would just go till total exhaustion. And everybody was yelling at each other so hard that it's, you know, it's really amazing how much more you can achieve when you're training with friends or with community, because it's like you just want to do better. You want to like look better. You want to push other people on. You want to like achieve incredible things. And when you keep pushing yourself, you know, through these courses, and you try and beat your friends, and you try and win, then, you know, I think you get a lot more out of it. And so sometimes, like, Ian was stronger than almost all of us, the rest of us, except for maybe Isaac sometimes, on his finger strength. And so sometimes we would like handicap each other. So like I would have, you know, something else that I was, you know, I would get like 20 seconds or something, and try and keep up with Ian, because he was just, you know, faster and stronger. But that was it's kind of like a handicap in golf or something. And so that's a good equalizer as well. And then, you know, or sometimes we would try and make a move where I could use my super long arms, and it would be extra hard for Ian or the rest of the guys, but like it would maybe be easier for me. And a lot of ninja is like that, where some obstacles favor a taller body or a smaller body. And so we would make our courses so that they would kind of equalize for everybody. But the one thing that was consistent is that our workouts were extremely pumpy. We were always gassed and just really flamed in our forearms and sort of total body, and your abs, just kind of everything. We would go to complete exhaustion, and we would run a course. I don't know, Ian, would you say like when we were kind of at the peak, maybe 3 or 4 times, do 3 or 4, and we would try and model it after stage 3 in Vegas, because we figured we could do pretty much everything else. So we really wanted to have stage 3 in our pocket, so that if we got to stage 3, we could do stage 3. And indeed, that, you know, Brian ended up being the first guy to complete stage 3 during one of the shows. And then, of course, Isaac and Jeff were able to win it, I think, the next year. But does that sound about right, Ian? What else do you?
I mean, I'm just gonna add that when we were in these training environments, we were trying to simulate what it's like to be in these very high pressure, stressful situations where you're super tired and you have to perform at a high level. You have to be able to control your body, how your breathing patterns are, where's the clock at. And so we designed the courses for myself and Noah and Isaac and everyone, and we would interchange the obstacles in order to best simulate being in that environment where you are super tired. You can barely breathe right. You have 20 seconds to recover. How fast can you get, you know, back to a point where you can open your hand again and keep going on an obstacle that is very difficult, and doing that over and over again, so that you're getting used to performing at a high level when you're smoked, when you're tired. And then you get off that and you start recovering right away. And so simulating those recoveries in order to be able to achieve the next obstacle 30 seconds later. Because, you know, in Ninja Warrior, you get about 30 seconds on the platform before the game master says go. So really, it was how fast can you recover in 30 seconds? Can you get back to 100%? If you can't get back to 100%, how close can you get to that point so that you're as ready as you can be to try to do whatever's next?
So we would yell at each other, you gotta go, we're gonna disqualify you. And we would like pretend to be the sideline guys. And then we would like, you know, take our cell phones and we'd go like this, you know, in front of each other's face while we're doing laches, and obviously not touch each other. But we would totally try and distract each other with loud noises, you know, get in like someone's ear and like clap real loud. And And it was like a game to try and distract each other and try and build mental strength
Yeah,
while we're
one
just
tool that I
super
really
gassed.
liked. Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say there was one tool that I liked, and anytime during the course, and I think we can only do this once per person per run, but basically at any point somebody could call out. I can't remember what word we had, but it was a delay. So you made a mistake. You're running the course, you're doing your thing, and somebody would call out, "Oh, you made a mistake," and so you had to take an extra 20 or 30 seconds, depending on where you were, hanging on the bar or fixed in this position to simulate that you just messed up, and that you have to figure out how to recover out of that position. And I thought that was a very useful tool to be like, okay,
I love
my
that.
plan didn't work out. Now I need to come up with a new plan. And I think having multiple strategies helped us, achieve obstacles when other people could not.
Total pressure cooker. We
Yes.
put ourselves in the pressure cooker. And each other.
Banging trash cans. That was a good one. Noise distraction. Yeah.
So Noah, so being a doctor, how did you balance training and working?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually for so I would say out of the 7 seasons that I did Ninja, 3 of them I was really serious and tried to do extremely well. Other than that, I really had to focus. I've got a family, I've got a business. I'm not a professional athlete. And so, it's not like I was able to put all my time towards Ninja. So out of the 3 years that I really pushed it, when I was like, okay, I want to win this $1 million. I want to beat this tower. I think I've got a chance. I honestly went down on how much I worked in medicine. I stopped working, average for an ER doc, average number of shifts a month is between like 14 and 18. And I went down to like 7 or 8 shifts a month. And so I sacrificed quite a bit of income. And I trained, quite a bit during that time. And, it would be fun to put all my time into it. But, that was only realistic for a few years, and it was fun, and I felt super fit, and I had a great time, but it was really hard to balance. When you have 2 things that take up so much of your time, it's hard to be the absolute best that you can be. So like the best climbers out there, the best ninjas, typically, like you look at Drew Dreschel, who's just on top of his game, and he's amazing, or Joe Moravsky, who's also amazing, Daniel Gill. Those guys do Ninja all the time, like nonstop. So they've got, not only do they really have some great genetic gifts, like Ian does, but they also have like nonstop time and gyms, and look at this guy, animal. But, so balancing time, I was already a little bit older. I think it's easier to balance time when you're younger and you can kind of take that extra time. I would have loved to have totally taken off from medicine and just dedicated everything to Ninja. But the fact of the matter is I did need to find some balance. And so when I was training 30 hours a week for like 2 or 3 months, it still wasn't year round. And, maybe I could have been a little bit better, but I couldn't make the sacrifice. And so the balance was something that was really challenging. But in order to be like really good and be 90% or 95% and be pretty ready, all you need is like a decent balance. Because what we find as ninjas is it's really easy to overdo it. It's really easy to overtrain, to get tweaked. And so what I found was by keeping some of my normal life, by spending time with family, by taking more rest days, especially as you get older, you need more rest. By letting my, the skin heal so that I didn't look like John Brown all the time. I think that enabled me to actually not overtrain, which I think that we're at real risk of because it's so much fun that you like always want to do it. And I think when you're a kid, like in your 20s or in your teens or even younger, you can do Ninja every day and you're going to be fine. You're just going to have rips on your hands. You're going to get stronger and better and stronger and better. But when you're in your 20s, maybe going on 30s, you got to start taking a couple rest days. 30s going on 40s, you might need 2 rest days, because otherwise you're going to overtrain and your skill level is going to go down. So I found that my balance of 30 hours a week was like a lot of training, but it was also good balance to keep working a little bit, and I reduced my shift load a little bit. But that's just a function of when I got into the game and when I got into this great community. And, you know, I think Ian was able to train more than I was, just because he was, you know, a lot younger than I am.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor, so that helped free us some time.
So I guess now kind of that it's awesome to hear how you guys all trained and everything, but now kind of going into the whole Wolfpack. I know you guys slightly touched on it, but Mike, if you want to continue into the transition.
So you talked about it a little bit, but how did Wolfpack really get started?
Yeah, well, we all started training together because we were climbers that knew each other from the gym and from outside and had traveled around the country. We were all like pretty serious climbers. You know, Brian and I were both like kind of more semi-pro, where we had some sponsors and received some gear. Ian was full-on pro climber and pro competitor. Megan, full-on pro climber and competitor. Isaac could have been, but he kind of was living this vagabond lifestyle. And I knew Brian and Isaac for like 15 years. And when we all started doing Ninja, we were like, okay, well, let's train together, obviously. You know, it's like who you're going to train with, your friends. And back then, there wasn't much in the way of Ninja. There wasn't really many gyms. And so when we started training together, we developed this camaraderie, and we started doing really well together and on the show. And I think that kind of brought us closer and closer together. And what happened that really kind of started the actual Wolfpack brand was, you know, Isaac was on the show or something, and I think it was Isaac, but one of the producers said, you know, like, you guys seem to be like, you know, like just like a gang or like a rat pack. And I think Isaac was like, no, we're like a wolf pack. And I think it just kind of stuck. And, you know, for a while we were kind of like this Wolfpack gang inside of Ninja, because there were all these like cliques, and there were all these ninjas, you know, who had been on the show since season 1, who were like OG amazing ninjas like David Campbell or, you know, Flip or Ryan Stratus or Brian Kretsch. A lot of these guys were just legends, you know, great guys. And we were kind of like the new kids on the block, and we came out of nowhere, and like we could all of a sudden compete with these guys just because we had a lot of upper body strength from climbing. And this was before a lot of climbers were ninjas. But so we had this kind of like outsider thing going on with the Wolfpack, where we kind of came in and did real well all of a sudden. And so we were getting like a lot of like looks and a lot of like respect and stuff. And people were really nice to us, obviously. But what we started noticing was that when we started calling ourselves the Wolfpack and started posting about that and stuff, kids and families were really like identifying with that, and they were reaching out to us on our socials, and they were like, the Wolfpack is so cool, I want to be a ninja, you know, like what can we do? And like, we started talking about stopping drinking soda and starting eating healthy, and you know, if your parents smoke cigarettes, like don't smoke cigarettes and take care of yourself and be the best that you can be. And all these families really started to jive with this message. And this is kind of over a period of time, but we realized that we had a lot of, especially for me as a physician, I realized that we were able to make this like really great impact on these kids and these families. They were like, oh, you know, our family lost 70 pounds together, and we've cut out soda pop, or I got my dad to quit smoking, and we're doing Ninja now. And so that made us feel really good, and it just kept things going. And then, you know, ultimately we wanted to create the brand and create a sport out of it, so that Ninja could live somewhere else besides reality TV, where it could be canceled and where ninjas aren't paid at all. and make it into a real sport where these incredible athletes could be like, you know, an NBA player or a Major League Baseball player. And that still hasn't happened yet, but there's a lot of really great effort being put into it by National Ninja League, UNAA, Unix, and all these different leagues out there. And of course, we've still got things cooking on our side. So that's kind of how it started and went. And I'm sure Ian can fill in some gaps there that I kind of left out. If you got anything to add, Ian.
Yeah, I think the inspiring the kids to be their own superheroes is just it just rings very true with me, and wanting to inspire the youth to be the best that they can be. I mean, I'm a dad, I have 2 kids, and I see my children, and I only want the best for them, and then to have, you know, love for themselves and their bodies and their minds, and to treat that as a temple, you know, and respect that. And I want everyone to be able to have that experience and be the best that they can be, and, you know, be able to have that opportunity. And if through the Inspiration Ninja, they can further that down the road into all other aspects of their life, they're setting themselves up, and we're setting ourselves up for a better future. And that just makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, just as like one addition to that, you know, Flip Rodriguez, who's one of the coolest guys, one of the best ninjas out there, he always looked up to Will Smith. And having a role model like that in his life who could positively impact him, like he talks about it all the time. It's like one of the reasons he's a total ninja superhero now and a total legend. And so we had similar people in our lives. And I think it's so important that, you know, once you're a certain age and you've done a certain amount and you've done well, and you know, you feel like you want to pay it forward, because the next superheroes are out there who are going to like totally blow by us and eclipse us and be just unbelievable, incredible ninjas. And those, we've seen those kids out there. I know you guys at Centercourt have seen them too, like a little Caden and like all these little ninjas out there who are just so unbelievable. And they're the next generation. And so you want to kind of pass down that knowledge. And I think Wolfpack is the embodiment of wanting to do that. And honestly get this country healthier, because one of our missions is to fight childhood obesity and diabetes, which has been an epidemic in this country. And right now we're so focused on this, you know, crazy pandemic and this horrible thing that's happening. But we're going to get past this, and some of the underlying issues are still there that we need to address, such as childhood diabetes and obesity, and some of the problems that we have culturally as a society. And so Wolfpack is trying to take on those bigger obstacles nowadays, and it's exciting. It's fun, and it's really challenging.
Awesome. So I guess my question is, how did it grow into what it is today?
Yeah, well, I guess in the most basic sense, we started a website, we started a podcast, we started just kind of putting information out there, being those role models. We started putting on competitions in Colorado, and we weren't even like really trying to make money. It was just so much fun having these competitions. And we did envision like a future where maybe it would turn into a business that could support ninjas and then accomplish a good social goal. But then out of the blue, we had some partners from New York take an interest in us, see our website, see the podcast, and say, wow, this is really cool. Our kids love it. And these are, you know, business people who are really used to doing live events and taking live sporting events and building something really great out of it. And so they came in and they actually gave us our initial funding, and they became co-owners of Wolfpack. And so that's kind of how it became what it is today. So we owe quite a bit to our partners in New York. And now we've gone to Hong Kong and New York and Georgia and Denver, of course, several times to have these big competitions and events for kids. And the future's bright, and we've got a lot of really cool things in store for the next couple of years as we grow the sport.
That's really awesome. Could you speak a little bit more to like what kind of events these are and what really happens at them?
Yeah, sure. Well, we run a whole gamut of events, and maybe Ian does a lot of our of our operations, and there's a real big business side to this. And Ian can probably tell you a little bit between the different events that we do.
Yeah. Well, we've had several different styles of events, and the first couple were on a much bigger scale, growing the sport, bringing in all the athletes, trying to get it on TV, really promoting that anyone can participate in this and anyone can go up and prove themselves to be the athlete that they want to be. And it's not this application process, and we're all ninjas. Let's go see what we can do and find out who's the best. And it was tailored more towards a racing component and excitement and who's going to beat who, and a whole bracketing system and double elimination competition format. And since then, going to some of these other smaller events where we're events in events, it's more about the community and participating in Ninja and less about the competition, where it's everyone can come out, learn from ninjas, learn how to be a ninja. What is it like? What do ninjas eat? How do we train? How do you get involved in the community? Where can you go train if we're out in New York, we're in Hong Kong, where can they go to find stuff like this? And those are kind of the two different styles, and we love doing both of them. But it's really focused on being a ninja, getting out on the course, seeing what you can do as a person, and just doing your best. And even if you fall down, hey, we all fall down, and just getting back up and instilling this idea of it's not horrible when you fall down. You just stand back up and try again. Yeah, that's really the main styles. And we've done some other small community events where we're talking to kids and inspiring them to eat healthy, make better choices in their diet, and you get involved. Even if it's not a ninja, get involved in another sport, something that interests them, just to be the best person that they can be for their own future.
And just to add to that real quick, we partnered recently with Kaboom, which is a really large nonprofit that puts ninja parks all over the country, and they put playgrounds for kids in underserved areas. And so that's a big part of our mission too, is getting ninja sport to everyone. So that means inner city and wherever it's needed the most, and grow and propagate the community and all the goodness that is ninja. And so our nonprofit partners, Kaboom, are really incredible. And so together with the help of amazing sponsors, we're able to put these amazing ninja parks that have like full-on ninja elements, like the steps and I mean everything. It's really cool. We just did an event down in San Antonio, and we're looking forward to more of them. We did one in Colorado, and so these smaller events, we show up, we bring a few of the ninjas, we train the kids in the local community, and although it's more of like a nonprofit event for our nonprofit partner, it's really cool and it feels really good. And so that's kind of like a third type of event that would be characterized as one of the smaller events for now. But we're also hoping to grow that. All we need is a sponsor that can step up to the plate and really back one of the bigger competitions that we're doing. Because unlike Ninja Warrior, the TV show, we envision a Ninja Warrior sport where there's prize money for all the ninjas so that they can go on being these professional athletes and not have to live in their van or sling pizza on the side, or work, or worry about having to make money, but they can be entertainers and professional athletes. So, but those are really kind of the three styles of events that we're doing currently.
I was actually lucky enough to go to the Wolfpack Ninja Tour event in Colorado.
Oh,
and
cool.
That was probably one of the coolest events I've been to, with the huge stadium. And I unfortunately tore my lat my first run, but I think I hurt it a little bit. But it was honestly a really fun event. And sitting in the stands and watching as a spectator the finals, it was exciting to be a part of. So that was a really great event.
That was fun. Oh man.
Yeah, well, we partnered with Madison Square Garden, and we're just honestly trying to secure a sponsor to make a really amazing event that everybody will be able to come and join. So, sponsors, step up to the plate. Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
Awesome. And then I guess my last question would be, obviously with everything going around, it's not going to happen like right away, but are there any Wolfpack events coming up?
Yeah, we have several coming up. We're actually about to go through kind of a round of announcements. So follow us at Wolfpack Ninjas on Instagram. And until we have our kind of like announced strategy and marketing strategy for those, we want to kind of keep it a little quiet. We have a couple really cool things coming up, and then this summer, we actually had a couple events in the next couple months that unfortunately we did have to cancel. Luckily, those got canceled about a month ago before we even started announcing. Everything is up in the air a little bit with all this crazy Corona stuff. So follow us at Wolfpack Ninjas on Instagram, and we'll definitely let you know. But keep an eye out for really good stuff.
Yeah, just so you guys know, I'm in the warehouse every day, tinkering, making. So if that gives you any hints.
Cool. I guess with the pandemic going on, one last question for Noah. Since you are a doctor, are there any small kind of tips you have for people dealing with it, preventing it?
Yeah, definitely. First, stay at home. Let's. I'm not sure everybody understands how serious this is or how serious it could be. But stay at home, please. Take it very seriously. You mostly get the virus from touching your face and being in crowded places where people are coughing or even speaking. Some of the virus can travel by aerosolization. So wash your hands constantly. Try and stay at home until we're past all these peaks, and we're going to get past this. Luckily, it's not hurting our kids as much, and our younger people. And I think that's we're really lucky. But sadly, it is affecting our older generation. And so, if you have a mild cough or cold, just everybody assume that you have, this disease or that you're a carrier, and just stay at home. It's really not difficult. But if you go and do ninja obstacles, and then your friend touches the same ninja obstacles, this is a highly, highly infectious coronavirus. And so it'll stay on your hands, and then you touch your face, and then you become a carrier. Even if you have a mild symptoms, then let's say you go to the store and touch the door or touch some food, and then somebody touches that same food and brings it home, and then their parent gets it, and then their parent ends up on a ventilator, or God forbid dies. And so it's really tough to tell how these little butterfly effects of touching one little thing turns into the spread of this disease. So stay at home if you can, and it's really as simple as that. Stay at home and do a lot of home workouts. Get creative. We used to tape off with painter's tape on our carpet quad steps and all kinds of agility agility exercises, and you can do that and really be creative. I think that's part of being a ninja, is being creative and creating new obstacles. So while you're social distancing, while you're at home preventing this disease, you can get some great workouts and be creative. Post them online.
Great, awesome. Well, I think that really answered everybody's questions. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add, whether it's your kind of Instagram handles. I know you guys are at Wolfpack Ninjas, correct?
Yep. Follow us at Wolfpack Ninjas. I'm Noah Kaufman, MD, at Noah Kaufman, MD, 1K, 1F, 1N. Ian's just at Ian Dory, right?
Yeah, that's nice and simple. Yep.
There we go.
Cool. And I noticed there was on the Zoom webinar chat, people had written in some questions, and there was just one I wanted to address, if you guys don't mind. And they asked, how is Isaac Caldiero doing?
Oh, yeah.
And Isaac is doing great. He just spent some time with my family and I in our cabin in Kentucky doing some rock climbing. Dan Yeager was there. Ian was going to come out, but the virus got to us, and we all had to shut everything down. And Ian was working in the warehouse. Thank you, Ian. but
I got you.
Isaac's doing great, and he misses everybody, and he misses being a part of the whole ninja thing. He was invited to do Ninja Warrior France, as were a bunch of the other ninjas. Unfortunately, that's on hold. This whole season of Ninja is, of course, on hold. But Isaac is doing phenomenal. He's living in Tennessee, and we still miss and love Isaac. And so, he's the first American Ninja Warrior champion. So he's a really special ninja. And along with Jeff, did the impossible that first season. And then the rest of these are a lot of shout outs and highs, and I just wanted to answer that one because it was worth answering.
Oh, it sounds like someone was talking with Megan. She misses us, Noah. So
Megan, we love Megan. She moved away from here and moved over to California, but she's amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. We appreciate it. I'm sure you helped a lot of kids kind of get some insight of how Ninja was before they kind of got involved in it. So everyone watching, go follow Wolfpack Ninjas. They have a lot of inspirational stuff on there. And I'm sure you can reach out to these guys if they have any questions. You can reach out to any of us. Otherwise, thank you for joining us.
Centercourt, by the way, you guys, Centercourt is amazing. They are one of the best ninja facilities in the country, and they're making future champions. And they're kind of like our sister gyms. We love Centercourt. So make sure to get all your friends, go to Centercourt once they're reopened. And until then, definitely tune into these guys, because these coaches are on top of it. They're experienced, and it's been an honor joining you guys. And thank you for the invite.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you, guys. I'll see you. Have a good one.
All right, see ya.
All right, everybody. Till next time, train hard.